Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Metroid Other M. In the last win around Sector 3, a bit of the main sector, and finished off getting 100% completion in terms of pickups across the game. So what do you say, let's go finish this off, shall we? Fantoon, buddy! It's been so long! We haven't seen you since Super. How you doing? I'm not sure if the music here's a remix, but it's good to see him again. Fantoon is the final boss of the game, just straight up. The main point you need to hit is, of course, his eyeball. With that said, he spawns several rage hands around the area to try and hit you physically, and when he opens up the windows slowly and surely across the fight, he also starts sending his ghost projectiles right out of his Super Metroid fight at you. The best strategy is to do charge shots while dodging every single one of his projectiles, as that opens him up for a lot of charge shots in a row, but super missiles do the most individual damage. The more you get into the fight, the more hands he spawns, and it can be really hard to take a moment to get a free moment to just shoot missiles into his eye, because as you can see, he really tries to hammer it into the projectiles at you. But thankfully, when he shoots his eye into the area, it gets a little easier to shoot himself. He can swipe left and right with his tentacles, which cover a lot of the areas you can see. But again, sense moving ignores a lot of that. The biggest problem with this fight is the amount of damage he does, because he does sometimes upwards of an energy tank per. Oh right, he also has an AoE attack that tracks onto you like it's a Final Fantasy XIV mechanic. Weird, but alright. Whenever he spawns these though, I find it's the best time usually to shoot super missiles at the eye. As while he tries to fire a laser out of it, I think at this point, he stands still long enough and stops spamming the ghost eyes as much that you can get a lot of good hits in. Whenever the rage hands spawn in, take care of them first. This fight can be hard just in terms of the damage, but if you've done everything we have throughout this LP and gotten everything, as you can see, we're more than prepared when it comes to ammo. I only used, what was that, 13 missiles and a lot of my energy tanks. Let's end this. So I don't think they've ever really addressed why Fantoon is here. I think the closest we've gotten is that Fantoon as a species just sort of haunts ghost ships, which the bottle ship now is by default because there's no one living on it now, just like the wrecked ship in Super. Bit of a weird time to bring back that fight, especially compared to Nightmare and Ridley, because those at least tie into the whole fusion element, but hey, I'll take it. I popped off when I first got here. And that brings us down to this elevator. This is the top half of the one that leads down to the main elevator segments. And it's stuck. Not even any elevator music. Well, I can make my own big booms. It's like the only time you use the power bomb like that, barring getting that missile tank last part to actively change the environment. And this is what I meant. If you didn't get the missile tank in this hallway yet, this is your last opportunity to do so, making it the last item in the game. We made it. I took 2 parts to climb an elevator, basically, but, oh well, we got here. Let's go get what we came here for.
Madeline, thanks for telling me all this. I've got to destroy the Metroids and MB in Sector 0. You have to remain hidden.
No! Samus!
Don't worry. The Galactic Federation CO who's here now will help you.
Self-destruction protocol activated. Please evacuate the facility immediately.
I was wondering where that was. It was largely missing from the game. We have, I believe it's 5 minutes once we get out of this little section here to reach Samus' ship back at the docking bay. With that said, she doesn't put back on her power suit, so we're pulling a bit of a zero mission here. She only has her security pistol active. It can charge and it can stun enemies, but you're just going to want to ignore them in basically every case moving forward. The biggest thing you need the pistol for is, this is namely in the last third of it, there's going to be security doors sliding down on the way to the dock. And if you're fast enough with your movement, you can slide under them. But if you miss it, you need to spam fire and use the charge shot of it to open up the door, to shock it back up to its normal state, essentially. Samus controls by and large the same when she's out of the zero suit. With that said, be careful because you only have you only have 99 health. You don't have energy tanks. And the space pirates here do about, I think, 15 per, so you need to be careful. Avoid them at all costs. With that said, you also cannot, I believe, slide or hold onto a ledge while also charging your security pistol, so jump around carefully. In a way, I like this little send-up to Zero mission, but if they were going to do anything with Zero Suit Samus, I think they could have done something not only a little earlier, but a little bit less clumsy, I guess is the way to phrase it. It's good to have a self-destruct back, though. I don't know why. These are always very cathartic sequences. Like, I missed the one in Prime 1. Prime 2's is alright. Prime 3, I think, has like 2 or 3, but they're much smaller scale. Prime Hunters went overkill with them, frankly. It was good to see the one that we got in Dread the way we did. That felt good. Because these, I feel, are a very important part of the series. They've been in it since the start. Also, don't fall all the way down there like I did. I thought that would be a shortcut. It was not. You want to jump towards this screen when you enter this room at first to actively fall down onto the lower platform and progress to the left. I honestly don't know what happens if the timer runs out. Like, it's a game over, of course. But I don't know if you get, like, a special cutscene. I don't know if you just fade to widen and go into the continue screen. I've never game overed here because I think the 5 minutes it might be a little bit too generous. Like, I guess maybe if you're trying to actively combat the space pirates a little more than I am, maybe. But oh well. Also, the way you slide with Zero Suit Samus, it's the morph ball. So you press A and she projects herself forward a little bit. Momentum on it's a little wonky, but thankfully this is the only time you have to use it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Also, I can't tell if this is the exact same version of Ridley's theme that played during the boss fight. I want to say it might be a slightly different one, but I might be thinking of Fusion with that, because Fusion had 2 different Ridley themes. One for the self-destruct, one for the actual Ridley fight. That was a lot more organic sounding. Honestly, once you've made it to the ship dock, Samus's control gets wrested from you. So, if you've made it here and you have, like, more than 20 seconds remaining, you're probably fine. That's game, ladies and gentlemen. That's game, everyone.
Sorry for keeping you waiting, Adam. Let's go home.
perfect. Congratulations.
And for beating the game, you get a different title theme. That's a nice piano piece. I like this song a lot, honestly. It's one of my favorites in the game. And you also unlock Theater Mode on top of the Gallery Mode. Theater Mode, as I mentioned, I believe the last part, just allows you to watch all the game's cutscenes. You can even play it all as a movie if you wanted to for some reason, as well as the Concept Gallery. With that, let's now transition back to the credits from a few parts ago so I can talk about my opinions in the game on the whole. But while we do that, we're also going to have the concept art gallery going in the bottom left just so I can say I showed off everything in the game, by and large, barring one thing. Other M is complicated. Graphically, let's start with the pros. Graphically, it's one of, if not the best looking games on the Wii. Like, this is up there with Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. This is up there with Skyward Sword's character models, not so much its environments. It's gorgeous for the system. And it has pretty short load times despite that, too, so they did pretty well with that. The orchestra, when it gets to do something like the credits theme, Ridley's theme, certain cutscene songs, it's good stuff. It's not very Metroid-y in a lot of ways, but it's good stuff. You know what I mean? And the base combat is fine. I wish they could do a little more with it. But given the system with what they set up for Samus in this game, there's not really much they can besides charge your beam, now screw attack, now overblast, now lethal strike. That's all there is. Missiles, really. It's a good leap-off point if they wanted to do more with a combat system, I feel, but it needed that more. The biggest thing with this game is its structure and story. If you're into Metroid because you like a super exploratory, very atmospheric adventure, you might get a little bit of the atmosphere, but you won't get much of the exploring. Because the maps are given to you, because the areas are very linear, because most of the challenges in the game are, here's this set of enemies, and investigate this terminal, there's not much here for you if you're looking for that true Metroid exploring experience. And I get why they wanted to make a Metroid game with a big story, because they hadn't done that yet. It's an impressive idea to want to do that at all. But I don't think they nailed anything. Lifting a lot of the ideas wholesale from the manga isn't a bad idea to start, but with how they botched a lot of Samus's interaction, the voice acting in a lot of regards just falls flat. The only character that really, I feel, is important from this game, that feels like they're a breath of fresh air, that feels organic, is Anthony. Adam and Samus just feels wrong in terms of their characterization. Some plot points, like the deleter, just ultimately go nowhere. They rush out a bunch of plot at the end just to make their villain make sense. The game's writing is very weak. And like I brought up before, I know some people say, well, that's because the dub ruined it. Not entirely. This game was Sakamoto's baby through and through. He led the localization. This is what he wanted us to see. Would I mind them taking another approach to this kind of game again? No. If they gave us more combat ideas, if we had a bit more to explore around, like, say, how Devil May Cry 1 was very Resident Evil with how it did things, I think there would be a lot of potential in a game like this. I think there could be potential for a Metroid game with a more in-depth story. But if you're going to ask me which Metroid game does that right, it's definitely Prime 3, because that game is relatively cut and dry with some things, but it has ideas that it tried to do things with, whereas the ideas they had here, they ultimately rushed out and nothing really felt like it was finished in that regard. I'm glad it exists, despite it putting the series more or less into the grave for a good, 6-7 years until Samus Returns. I guess 5 or 6 until Federation Force. And if they needed that internal reset to go, okay, we were getting too big, we need to roll it back a bit and start doing what they're doing now, I'm glad it is, in some regards, the Sonic 06 of the series in that regard. But I don't think it's the worst game ever, like some people say it is. It's got its pros, but it's a very split experience. If you want to play it, it's on the Wii. And that's it. I don't think there's any versions on Wii U Virtual Console and all that. Oh, that's the other thing I don't like about this game. You should have been able to use more than just the Wiimote alone. The Wiimote alone can be simple for games like Mario Wii, yeah, but for a more complex game like this, you need more complex controls. The nunchuck or classic controller, more than just the Wiimote, should have been able to be used in this game, because it's, ugh. The only thing we are not showing off for this LP is what you unlocked for getting 100%, which is hard mode. Hard mode is the entire game all the way through to the final boss against MB, quote-unquote. But you only have, I think it's 1 energy tank, and I forget if it's 10 or 20 missiles. There are no item pickups for those in the game. I think Excel charges might still exist, but frankly, I've never finished it, so I don't entirely know. You don't get anything for beating it. It's just a harder difficulty. Enemies do more damage. You do slightly less. And because you have so little health to begin with, a lot of enemies towards endgame will kill you in 1 to 3 hits from memory. So, don't mess around with it. It will kill you. I don't think there's much worth going into it myself, so we're just not. But yeah, that's Other M. A complicated game. I liked it as a kid. I still like parts of it now, but it's definitely a complicated experience. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great night. Take care. Next time we see Metroid, it'll probably be handling Samus Returns, honestly. Because I'd rather do the mainline games before I eventually get to Prime via, like, Prime Trilogy or something. I'll figure it out when I get to Prime. And I'll see you guys next Let's Play, whatever that may be. See you guys then.